that whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am.
So hello there everyone, and welcome to my Lunar Eclipse in Leo video message. This will be a channeled energy transmission once again. So remember back when we had the solar eclipse in Capricorn, which was, although it was a new moon, as you know, it was sort of the energy of the end of the old, right? It was the beginning of an ending, the beginning of the ending stage. And it feels like it's kind of a reversal because it was, as you know, the solar principle is more active and the lunar is more receptive and magnetic. So this eclipse right now, which is a full moon, a blood moon, it's sort of a very magnetic, potent energy gateway that I see as a portal. And I've channeled this drawing that I put on my Instagram page of this lunar eclipse as a doorway of invitation into this new space. Sorry, I've been walking quite a long time, so I'm still a lot of breath. And it's winter, as you can see, we have snow, and I thought this was really such a perfect way to begin, you know, the energy of this new cycle, because snow is always like this blank slate. It's a whitening, and we finally had a very late snowfall. As you know, they had a lot of snowfall elsewhere in Europe, such as in Austria. They had piles of snow and we had nothing. Now we have a very moderate, beautiful amount of snow. It's not like last year, which was a lot of havoc and craziness. So it really feels like this energy that I was channeling the entire path I was walking here along my river. I was asking for, what is this new opening? And I kept on tuning in, and I said a while as well. I meditated, and the word that came through was invitation. And what Spirit wanted me to talk about, as you know, as we open this new gateway, is that the dissolution stage that we've initiated with the solar eclipse in Capricorn, which was necessary for the, you know, it's like that unveiling when you just push through a cycle, because each energy cycle has a buildup, and there's a momentum when you simply have to, it's like you turn on a switch, and there's like this lightning bolt that illuminates everything that still isn't illumined. It's like, you know, it's a funny sentence, but the illumination that comes as a consequence of, you know, that opening to seeing what is not yet illuminated, so that it can really be dissolved into the light of absolute purity. So what Spirit showed me is that even in my own life, in initiative, how I was called and guided, they've said that it is really important now. We're at a precipice. A lot of you are finding yourselves at this question mark, which simply invites you, whether you're still following the path of being informed the old way, which is receiving information, especially when you're receiving information that doesn't come from people who themselves are lumen, who are masters, teachers in their own sovereign right, not because they want to be. People who are or have been purified by the Holy Spirit, by the sacred fire, who are wise men, wise counsels, guides, luminaries, you know, sages. And information that's not coming from that space, it served as a mirror many times. It even for volunteer souls, we imprint on this realm by following, like we absorb everything. And then the dissolution energy that the Capricorn solar eclipse brought was that decision point that, okay, this stage is now complete. Our imprinting, you know, it's like gathering of everything. And, you know, for souls who operate as multidimensional masters, for us coming to this planet is almost like, I've shared this with you before, we have to go through initiations of this planet all in one lifetime, which is a very arduous, difficult journey of constant death and rebirth. I don't want to tell you how many times I've died in my life, and every time I'm born anew, I come out a different person. And it's not a person, it's like an essence of me, an overlay of energy that's now literally coming into embodiment. And then people would still try to approach me the same way, and it's like the door is closed, the way that approach can be taken. And that's literally how spiritual transformation works, when it's truly at the level of soul alchemy. So it's like this dissolution stage was so necessary for an opening to this, what the energy of, or the essence of the energy of invitation means. Because a lot of people invite things that are of the old. They simply things that they're inviting unawareingly. They're not conscious of what they're inviting in their space. So the energy of invitation, Spirit said, a lot of people will say, "What? This is not new. I'm manifesting. I'm always asking. I'm receptive." The Spirit is saying, no, not at that level, which is now available when you go through the energy of dissolution. That's why that was so necessary for us to move through. And for a lot of us, it still showed us points of where we still kind of gather that imprinting energy, and we don't have to participate with that collective scope and field of this information, many times disinformation and misinformation as well, because people who are not wholly from within, and I'm not separating people into segments, you are this, you're that, it's simply a path. You know, and if someone hasn't earned the sovereignty by doing this inner alchemy work, they're not yet holified or purified from within, which means they're still walking towards that. So on their journey, when they're still imprinting from the outside world, many times the reason why they're often themselves being misled and misinformed is not because they're bad people or they don't have the awakening of some sort, or they're not inspired by something, but a lot of times it's just simply because they're so receptive from the outside. You know, they have many filters that, you know, whenever we're receptive from the outside, we can be misled, we can be misinformed. It is a natural law, it's how things work. So when we shift into this being informed from within, when Spirit is that which is our primary initiative for everything in life, we cannot be fooled. There is no way, nothing can trick us into following, like going there, going into direction that's not really leading towards enlightenment. Ultimately, it's all leading towards illumination for every soul, for every being. It's just how the nature of karmic and dharmic path as one are. But I'm saying here that the reason why dissolution energy was so important, and it's still ongoing, doesn't mean now it's over, we move into the new. Essences are like layouts, overlays of energy that intertwine and interact with each other. They're consciously engaging all the time. It's an inherent process within us. Initiation is not done this, check, moving into the next. This is a linear approach. This is a spiral. And when you embrace things within the spiral, everything you embrace builds up on each other and interacts. So the field is this morphogenetic field you're building within yourself. It grows and expands, so you have a larger capacity to be informed universally, not just this linear way, the pursuit of information from the outside. So this energy is so important because it asks us to truly decide. And this is now what I've said, the second eclipse will bring this final completion of the journey that was or used to be. Doesn't mean you end, you cease to exist, or you totally radically change your path, but you modify it, that now your focus is truly on illumination. Is that truly your main aim? Do you have other pulls that, yeah, but I still want to do that or watch that or be informed this way? So this is that choice. And the dissolution energy really put us, it's like this self-confrontation, but in a very gentle, it was in a soft way. It wasn't that radical, like you have to do this overnight. Unconditional, pure love does not demand things of us, does not say your initiation has to be this way, and if you don't do that, you fail. It's not based on winning or losing or failure in any way. It's simply a gentle openness each time you morph into a new level of the self. So even in my case, I noticed many behaviors and things I still pursue that still kept coming in. I'm like, I already released that. Why is it still coming back? Because an element of me still believed I needed that. And as long as that element played that game, it was still there. It was a part of reality. It wasn't an external fault or someone sending me certain information because it's their fault. It's simply me not being decisive or integral or sovereign enough, following that spiritual integrity, which is the ultimate path of illumination. It's always based on integrity and universal law, and that being your main focus and pursuit in life. But it's truly my decision, because I'm not truly, I'm still indecisive somehow. So the dissolution energy was so crucial for what comes next. So when Spirit talks about the energy invitation, this is not asking for things. Oh yeah, I want this to happen or this to occur. The energy essence that's illumined, the invitation essence that is illumined, is simply really creating that doorway of full openness. So what I've been noticing is a physical symptoms of sorts. I thought they were just, feminine cycles, but I actually had my cycle. I had my burst out, and as I told you, on the New Year's And it's like 2 weeks later, my 2 feminine vortices of heart extensions started to kind of, they're really swollen and kind of painful, you know, like before your period, if you're a woman, but in a more intense way. And I was like, what is this? What's happening? I never had that, not in between the menses. So I was asking, and today Spirit was showing me that this is a clear indication physically how the heart is expanding, and how different glands in our system, as you know, the way the body informs itself, they're also like enlarging their capacity to receive. So this is just one of the things I felt called to mention. But the energy of invitation is not just, okay, I'm open, I'm receptive for anything to happen. This is a mixture of focus, but it's like higher intentional focus. It's not like focus driven through the ego mind. That's why you might have experienced, a lot of plexus still kind of holding on. I had those contractions. I've experienced this in waves, how the dissolution of the old will is happening through the body. It's just like it had its final outburst in a few days, and it just kept on, like, you know, that firm grip it has. And all I can do at that time is like, you just find a space of compassion. You can't do much more. You can't change it. I don't want to be without this, right? I don't want these contractions. Basically, all you need is that compassion to be with what is, and recognize that the body has its own process, how it also eliminates through embracing. It doesn't eliminate through, you know, cutting off. You know, like many times before I've talked to you about, the cutting cords doesn't really work. You have to embrace the energy with the full openness of love. So the heart, this space is really expanding. And a lot of people have been asking me, well, because I've talked about in the previous video that it's not about energy being felt here in the third eye. A lot of people in the New Age focus around this, and they miss the point of what physical ascension is. The light has to penetrate through your entire body system. The 7 sacred seals is the chakric system that is embodied chakric system. We also have, you know, higher chakric system that's also embedded within our whole makeup of the way our bodies are created, and self-sustained, self-regulated, and regenerated all the time. So this, in a way, the light has to move through all these systems. And how I feel this is like there's constant flow of tantric energy. When I don't have this flow, because I'm now a conscious master of knowing the way tantric life force works through me, I can simply observe when I don't feel that flow, and I do something about it. It's as simple as that. And doing is not changing it, but it's moving in the space of easing the energy, relaxing the energy. You don't have to work hard for this process. It's like, it's not based on that. The first stage of, you know, when you are attaining a sort of spiritual purity, the first few levels of this journey will be foundational, which is radical work, changing your diet, you know, going vegan probably, because you have to purify the body centers. It's just how it is. You can't have heaviness. The foods that are life-taking, I've said, by the way, that are so dense and heavy in the system, that system has to work on the disintegration of that so intensely that you can't be light. This has nothing to do with beliefs, what's right, what's wrong. This is simply the path of physical ascension and how it is. The ancient yogic teachers have been saying the same things. They've all been ascribing the same dietary foundational levels. All of that work was foundational. It was very radical. It was difficult for people to shift on those levels, perhaps, I mean, for sure. But now this work is based more on refinement, when we're getting acquainted with the way essences of life work at this higher operational system we're now entering. And this is what I talk about, the new body, the new illumined body. So this is like the energy of invitation, and you say, I know what it means. You invite something in, and people are working on these constant levels of manifestation work. And there's like so much money making in the manifestation business that I'm rather disappointed. I'm thinking, it's so simple, and people are making it so complex and basically going against the great divine will. As I've told you, I've recently been tuning into the great teachings of the wise Manly P. Hall, and he was saying the same thing. Like, people want to do things and create things, and they sometimes will always create these karmic ripples, because truly the divine knows best. It knows always what you need. So your true only alignment and prayer should be that you are moved into illumination. right? When this is your calling, when you know for sure. But knowing what you want, and you saying, I want this, brings work. It brings with it work. And this is where sometimes people are stumbling and, you know, on their own footsteps. It's just how it is. Because they want something, but they don't know how to tend to that. Okay, this is request. This is not, you know, this is requirement. This is not demands of spirit, but it's just how things work. So the invitation essence is a deepening of a doorway, you know, knowing how this energy works, because you could not, a lot of people said, why didn't this happen for me? Why didn't this manifest? I was trying so hard. Well, that's, I mean, failure. You tried so hard. But you didn't move into dissolution when that happens naturally. When you move with divine essences, these essences, once you learn to tune into them, these are your higher aspects or divine archetypes of creation of life, they all do their work naturally. I know there's a lot of people who do readings and tarot and all sorts of advice giving. They always tell you, yeah, you have to work hard for that. Well, the radical, the foundational work might seem hard because the shift into that requires more energy, a lot of investment into that, so there can be a shift. But once you reach that pinnacle, the work will be based on refinement. There's still work. It's still intense. I'm not saying it isn't. Each time the spiral goes on and it unveils new and new levels of dimensional spaces, doorways. So this energy invitation is feeling so deeply, what does it mean to manifest, create from the higher principles of life where we can exist, and we do exist, but we're needing to move ourselves into alignment with that. And it's not something you ask for. This is not invitation. You're asking for things, and you know, it's knowing that you are magnetic. The Sri Yukteswar, he's one of my favorite teachers. He was the guru of Paramahansa Yogananda. I love that man. He looks like Gandalf. Seriously, I adore him. Even his face is just so indicative of his wisdom and illumined presence. I was listening to his audiobook about holy science, I think, and I ordered the real book because the one person reading it, it didn't resonate. It just wasn't right. So he was saying all those beautiful things, and it's so simple, and yet it's really so truthful. And when you tune into that illumined presence and let that be your only guide, you will know. And he was saying the same thing. There's this world where we do exist, but it's like you have to become aware of that. So working at this higher refined level of the essence is opening new spaces within us. So again, I wanted to do beyond words, just the energy embracing. For those of you who are open enough, who feel you are, want to be, desire to be, doesn't matter, to create the space of pure invitation. This energy, like I said, is very magnetic. This moon is so magnetic. It's like, even if you're very active, a very active person, it's still softening you. Even the work you do, even if you're still doing work and lots of things, but it's still softening the way you're doing it. It's really a softening presence. I know people will say eclipses are so radical and difficult and intense and they're bringing bad luck. Well, these people live in the world of duality. When you live in unity, you know that everything is a gateway in itself, and it works with great magic within your potential opening if you are there in your soul awareness, or it brings you what you believe it to be doomsday or havoc or whatever. So I want us to create this space for invitation and to really feel what it is beyond just the words I'm saying here. I can only do as much with words, as you know. Written or spoken word does not do miracles, but the essence in itself is so full. It's so filled with life, of richness, and that's why I focus the majority of my time. Even though I do a lot, I don't want to do a lot. I just want to eradicate things from my life that it's just like, it's a waste of time. Why would I even be doing that if I know this is my path, this is my calling? Why would I even watch this video, or why would I even listen to that if I know it's not coming from a space of illumination? And it's like, it takes courage to truly dissolve things. Like Spirit is saying, a lot of people are clinging on because they believe there's nothing beyond there because they can't see it yet. That's one of the reasons why they show me the snow metaphor. I was walking yesterday towards our waterfall, the main White Lady waterfall. It's the first day after our snow, our second day. And I was walking and I felt, wow, snow falls and the next day you're in a different realm. So they said, yes, 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 this is like how invitation feels. You're in total not knowing. You don't have to know what you're inviting. It's beyond what you believe manifestation to be. Invitation is like a higher level of what you call manifestation. It's so pure. It's such purity. You simply don't demand it or want it to be. And then one day you find yourself somewhere and you're in a totally different realm. Something just moved you there, and it was the invisible, it was the magical, it was that mysterious, mystical path of that which we call pure presence of the divine. So I want us to embrace that, open our hearts, do a few moments, because my battery's dying, by the way. I didn't have much, and it was very spontaneous here today. I also will do on Patreon spirit-guided messages for the eclipse, as well as a little message that I always do for each moon activations, okay? You can find that there. All my content is always accessible there. So you can see the drawing on Instagram. Additional drawings for each month are also on Patreon. And they do follow along our process and journey of physical ascension. So without further ado, I want you to feel into who you truly are. Feel yourself surrounded by the white circle or the white light of spirit and embracing you, encircling you. And just give a very simple, pure intention. To be in the essence of invitation. And just feel into that. It might be a glimpse, it might be a moment, it might be a sprinkle, it might be an epiphany or illuminating, ooh, you know, don't try to chase it. If the next time you can't feel it anymore, just know, oh, I've experienced it. So if I experience it in the now, and there's only this now, it's within me. And all I really have to do is open up to that potential within me at a higher level, because that's what I'm doing here. I'm embracing each time a different multi-layered essence of my divinity and recognizing the true divine child of beauty and grace that I am. And I'm changing. I'm always changing. Every time I'm a different being. I'm the same presence, the same essence, but beingness within me is creating this catalyzing change all the time, and I love that about me. So let's take together a deep breath and just do that for a few moments of this beautiful sacred space in silence. They're saying that's it. It's really simple. Just tune into that. It doesn't have to be like a long meditation, a long... It's always when something is long in duration, people feel like it has a sort of expectancy. This is you being in that space. You already are all that. And I'm laughing because it's true. And they're saying this is the space of pure magical potential. This supersedes the idea of manifestation in physical reality, because it has and involves mystical components of soul alchemy that are invisible. So when you allow, the body will do this in alignment with the soul completely. You just have to step aside. Yeah, snow falling down. It's like the descent of light, that release. So also now feel that merging with the essence of dissolution and feel them working together, and just allow yourself for a while that space. To be worthy of that experience, because you are. And it's not a matter of wish fulfillment or wishful thinking. It's knowing I am that. So therefore I create that within me. And through the law of invitation, we will move in higher aspects, but that's all in continuation. So we're going to see where that leads us. I'm doing things as I'm guided. Each time along the spiral of spirit, something new is unveiled, and it comes through that doorway of spirit. So that's it for today. More on Patreon. Be blessed as you are. Have a magical eclipse doorway experience. And I'll talk to you again next time. And I'll see you on the other side. I'll see you within. Enjoy. So to truly be informed from within and invite the essence level work operates beyond systems of duality. It even operates beyond what we call astrology. There are certain levels of our consciousness and reality experience we can access through such means, and yet the essence work is simply the realm of the mystics. It is the mystic realm that many of you are ready to step into. There are different stages of that are being unveiled, and each time something new will peek out of that experience, will present itself, and these subtle doorways might feel sometimes very unrealistic, and yet we're not here to say, okay, we're being realistic. That's very important to ground our basic foundational principles here through the universal principles being brought here on the planetary scheme of things through our embodiment and the soul work that is evolutionary. So just as the great creative force of life learns through what we call many great civilizations, we also learn in a micro sense from our soul evolutionary journeys, and that is just as important to encapsulate here. So a part of that inward-based soul evolution is the importance of you as you are now, beyond the understanding of how to identify yourself, how to moderate yourself through means and efforts. And beyond that realm is a realm of the mystic, which is where you find yourself to be as the creator itself. You are the creative life force. You are not a being asking for source to reinforce you with something, or to hand you something over. So in this capacity of feeling your essence, right now feel yourself as the creator of life. And as the creator of life, you first create this pure void. And that void, the first essence emanating from it, is the essence of invitation. Now, if you can imagine yourself as a creator being, creating anything, how would you now invite this into your sacred space that you have so purified, that you have dissolved all that you feel somehow will not be a part of this creative space? And what would be a part of this creative space? That is a very important question. Now, the next level, when you tune into that, is to ask yourself, how do I trust the mystical process involved, that all of this which is transpiring through me is of my own metaphysical and physical essence? How do I know that? How do I trust that spirit? How do I trust the life force process that is that spirit? Now, just for a moment, perhaps close your eyes and feel yourself as the creative source, this life-giving essence that created such a beautiful, pure space, no matter what the outer conditions might have been, or that this creative force that runs through you have perceived. Within this beautiful space of purity, there is this space purified by the holy fire, the sacred fire of life and life-giving. Now, this is a blank slate creation awaiting for you. And when you open up to the essence of invitation, you simply invite that mystical component of life to work through you by unconditionally trusting it. And that reinforcement in the physical component of life is a natural occurrence, is a spontaneous evolutionary unfoldment of all that is felt from within. It is not an external confirmation or an addition of knowledge that could build up towards something. This is a natural built-in principle within you that governs life so purely. at the foundational level of creation. And for a moment, with your eyes closed, just visualize that essence of life moving through you. You are that essence. And what is that main key experience for you at this higher level of your existence that you would like to invite into this sacred space that was so beautifully created from the foundational levels up? And now you allow this greater light of invitation to descend through you and filling up this space of pure void with all that is pure and just. All that holds this higher component of life in itself is self-evident, self-obvious, and self-inherent. Therefore, it is self-regulated and modulated, self-birthing. And you're in awe, you're in joy that this has the capacity to be born through you. You do not have to control it. This is not such a level of presence. This is a level of pure divine perfection. Immaculate conception working. The great universal principle of creation that you now embrace full-heartedly, purely and openly through the essence of invitation. And so be it, and so it is.